Hello and welcome to the CVR Post Race Show, a podcast to keep you up on the latest of Cerberus Virtual Racing's Series 3 Championship. My name is Peter Wicinski, and I am joined today by two other pro category drivers and handsome devils, Gavin Sullivan and Paul Simon.
Hello.
Hello, Pete, you are far too kind.
Cerberus Virtual Racing Series 3 is an 8-round championship raced on the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim and hosted by Cerberus Virtual Racing on SimGrid. Today, we are talking about Round 4 at Zolder. The Zolder racing track, nestled in Belgium's Limburg province, boasts a storied history steeped in motorsport legend. Established in 1963, Zolder quickly gained international acclaim for its challenging and diverse layout. It became a staple on the Formula One calendar, hosting 10 Grand Prix races between 1973 and 1984. The circuit's notoriety was further cemented in 1982 when it tragically witnessed the fatal accident of Formula One legend Gilles Villeneuve during qualifying. Beyond Formula One, Zolder has showcased a myriad of racing disciplines, including endurance racing and touring cars. Its legacy endures as a symbol of Belgian motorsport heritage, attracting enthusiasts from around the globe to experience its thrilling bends and iconic tarmac. The Zolder racing track is a compact yet thrilling circuit known for its tight and technical layout. Covering a distance of approximately 4.01 kilometers, or 2.49 miles, Zolder offers a dynamic mix of challenging corners and short straights. The track is characterized by its demanding nature, where precision and skill take precedence over sheer speed. Hairpin bends and chicane sequences punctuate the circuit, testing drivers' ability to negotiate tight turns and rapid changes in direction. With limited opportunities for overtaking, Zolder demands strategic planning and tactical execution from racers. This combination of technical prowess and strategic finesse makes Zolder a favorite among both drivers and spectators for its intense and unpredictable racing action. Overall, the Zolder racing track is a renowned circuit and has a legacy of hosting prestigious motorsport events.
So the championship so far. Series 3 is a one-drop series where the lowest scoring race of the season will be dropped from each driver's leaderboard totals. With 3 races done, Peter Wicinski holds the top of the leaderboard in the pro category with 89 points, Paul Simon sits in second place with 88 points, and myself, Gavin Sullivan, is currently third with 80 points. In the Pro-Am division, Arek Rogowski holds the lead with 105 points, Mark Cutts is in second with 99, and Kirk Nicholson is in third with 94. In the amateur category, Sean Field leads with 106 points. Second place is held by Simon Tonkin with 99, and Stacey Ellis holds third position with 84. Zolder has proven itself to be a challenging course and could easily shake up the standings as we go into the mid-season break. Starting the race, Paul Simon leads the pack in the Lamborghini Evo 2, followed by myself in the McLaren 720S, and Peter Wicinski in the Hurricane Evo 2 at position 4. In the Pro-Am category, Arek Rogowski starts in P3 in his Mercedes AMG 2020, and then Connor Jolawicki, if I've got that right, apologies if I've got that wrong, and Martin Story in the Ferrari in the 296s in the P5 and 6. Starting in P15 is Sean Field in the Ferrari 488 with Stacey Ellis behind in the 2020 Mercedes AMG and Chris Montgomery in the McLaren 720S in P18.
So I really enjoy Zolder. It's one of the first tracks you're introduced to in ACC, and I love racing through hills and forested areas. This race for me, I started in P4. And Gavin, once you hit your pace, I could not catch you.
Yeah, it's an interesting track, Zolder, because when you get it right, it's really, really rewarding. But with the chicanes, the slightest mistake, it can just it can ruin your race. So yeah, I really enjoyed our race. I have to admit.
Ruined my race. I I didn't expect to be quite as strong on this circuit as I was. So as soon as I realised my pace, I was practiced quite hard for this one, and got pole position and went off into the lead. I probably went off a little too fast. In all honesty, I was sort of 7 or so seconds ahead by the sort of 4th or 5th lap. And yeah, I think I few corner cuts, and I was on 3 corner cuts by about 25 minutes gone. So yes, unfortunately, the inevitable happened, and later on in the race, when I was just holding off Sandro after he'd had an accident, I was just holding him off. He was about a second behind, and I went and made that final mistake and cut a corner. Ended up finishing in 5th, but overall, I think everyone was very well behaved, and other than a tiny little accident, which really shouldn't have caused as much problems and damage as it did on the first corner. Other than that, I don't think there were any real sort of malicious moments or real big issues. So all in all, from my point of view, fantastic, well done for everyone, and a really, really strong field we're building now.
Yeah, Paul, you had the lead for so long, and when I saw that you got the drive-through for track limits, I hate to say it, but like obviously I was excited for myself, but it really stinks because you were putting on such a performance, and I know I don't know how Gavin felt in that moment, but honestly for me when I saw that you had your drive-through, I selfishly felt pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I had the exact same selfish feeling when Sandro made his little mistake and gave himself, I think, about 15 seconds of damage, which was just enough damage for me to sort of stay sort of a second ahead and him not be able to push me. But yeah, I'm sure Gavin had his moments as well.
Yeah.
Well, certainly the first, because I went for an unusual strategy from what I normally do. I tried to go quite long. So with a heavier car, Arik and obviously Sandro catching up anyway, were putting quite a lot of pressure on me, and I actually ended up losing positions to them as well. So I thought, well, maybe I've messed up on my strategy, but I think it actually proved to be the right strategy in the end. I just couldn't match Sandro's pace. He was just really, really fast, to be fair to him.
He is lightning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there was himself, Mike, and also Nick as well, who didn't even manage to qualify due to various reasons. And to see, I mean, 2 of them, all 3 at some point came storming through the pack. But yeah, to see Sandro appearing, and unfortunately I made one of my mistakes when he was about 3 seconds behind, so I didn't even get a chance to battle him at any point, even though he was very close to me at times. But yeah, for various reasons of my own making, unfortunately, I messed up and finished 5th.
It happens. It happens. I've had my bad races. Bathurst was. I don't like thinking about Bathurst. I'm just gonna let that one go into the ether over time. But it happens. Gavin, I had. I wouldn't say necessarily like close battles. Gavin kept me at about a distance of a second or 2 for a good portion of the race. And what I thought was so interesting about trying to catch Gavin is I would see him make a mistake, especially like on that final turn. He would cook it a little bit too much and he would slip, and I would get excited and immediately overcook it, and I would slip. So every time Gavin made a mistake, I was making the same exact mistake, and I just could not hold it together to catch him. So he had a fantastic race in front of me, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that final chicane just kept on tripping me up. I just couldn't quite get my braking point right, but more so on the right to go on the straight. I just was always going on the accelerator too quickly, and the back end was just twitching, and I was losing so much time.
Just so eager, because it looks like you should be able to get on the power right on the apex on that corner.
Yeah.
But as soon as you sort of drop off that curb, it just the whole back end starts to slide, and it was.
Yeah.
I think
I started early shifting just to try and control the wheel spin, but I think that was also like it was obviously affecting my acceleration as well.
Right.
So that was the compromise I decided to start taking just to ensure that I wasn't going to bin it.
You know, but we all had a good race. I didn't even really intend for this, but as Gavin was reading it, I didn't realize that the three of us are on top of the championship. I didn't even think
yes,
about that when we started recording this. So
I'd
we're doing
say
pretty well.
with a couple of the other pros like Todd and a couple of the others that are only going to be able to do it sporadically this year. I think between the three of us, quite surprising actually that the three of us are together in the pro. We've all sort of really picked up some pace in this season. So and I think we'll be. I think with the other person who's lurking in the chat as well, I think he'll be making his way to pro very soon, along with the other admin Eric as well. If
Yeah.
welcoming Ash for a few of his views.
Yeah.
He's on mute. There we go.
Hey Ash,
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
repeat guest. How you doing, Ash?
I'm very well, thank you. Just recovering from a hangover from yesterday, but other than that, I've come in round and
That's
I've got my
something.
mash. I've got my mash or brew, so I'm doing all right.
How'd you do in the race? What were your thoughts on Zolder?
I was doing really well for a bit. So I had a good fuel strategy. I'd not managed to get much practice in, but the practice I did get in, I tried to implement two strategies just to see which one would work best. And I decided to go for a more safe setup with some esports-esque tweaks as opposed to running a pure esports setup, which worked really well. Managed to get myself up into second, but I had a bit of a freak, not accident, but moment where I ended up coming up to a back marker, and the back marker braked as we went into the middle sector 2 chicane, which caused me to lock up, and I ended up having to take a bit of evasive action. I ended up getting a track cut, but it ended up being my third track cut. So after that, I played a very safe game. So I think I dropped from second to fifth in Pro-Ams, but that was just purely because I didn't go any faster in sector 2, because I knew if I started pushing to maintain the speed that I was doing, that inevitably I was going to either get a track cut warning or worse. So when I saw Nick coming up behind me, I tried to hold him off as best as I could. He managed to make himself past, and Connor, he had a bit of a spin in one of the earlier laps, and then after the pits, he managed to catch up with me as well. So I think I dropped from doing 29s down to sort of like mid 30s. So I didn't have the pace to stay within the sort of top tier of the Pro-Ams. But
Well,
other than that, it was a really good race.
You still did well, and it does hurt to slow down to make sure that you drive the rest of the race safely, but losing a position for driving a bit slower is better than losing 4 or 5 positions with getting one of those penalties. So I think it's the right call. I'm sorry, Paul, that wasn't said at your expense.
Mate, to be honest, you've pretty much summed up, I mean, the first half of the race, I probably went out a bit too hard because, I got a bit of space. Gavin started getting tied up with Eric pressuring him. But the back end of the race, when I knew, one more track cut and it was going to cost me, but I got Sandro chasing me down. I saw the opportunity. Yeah, it was one of those things. Unfortunately, pretty much every race this season, I've had various issues, whether it be crashing on the way into the pits or running out of fuel or various things. So, season 3 hasn't been my season, but it's all experience. I'm still, a couple of 100 hours into ACC now, so fairly newbie as far as the hours go.
Yeah, you say finishing or not finishing because of running out of fuel. I actually crossed the finish line with 0.8 liters left in the tank. So
see, no, that's just good maths. As long as you didn't run out, it's good maths.
So close. Well, Ash, thank you for coming on, and I look forward to having you on future episodes. And, best of luck through the second half of the season.
Thanks for having me, and as always, great podcast, and I'll keep listening. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, Ash.
Bye. Well, I also see that we have one of the AM drivers who also had a very good performance at Zolder down in the audience. We've got Simon Tonkin. Simon, are you able to come up?
I've just sent him an invite to speak. He's currently typing, so I don't think might not want to join us on stage. Just bear with us for just a moment.
It's all right.
He's at work at the moment, so
that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, we appreciate you listening in, Simon. So, for you guys, race, what a tough race. Zolder, those chicanes, those sausage curbs on the chicanes can absolutely ruin it. What was a high intensity or a most memorable moment for you in the race?
For myself, I had a good few moments, but I'd actually say it was the very beginning of the race. At the race start, Paul and I, the first few corners were pretty much side by side going through them. So that was.
Tried to grow the widest Lamborghini you've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really good racing, and those are the moments when you're playing the game and you're having a solid, fair battle. That's what makes it exciting, and that's what you're really holding on to. So unfortunately, I was the wrong side of Paul going into that sharp chicane, so I did have to kind of yield eventually. And then eventually Paul just raced ahead of me from that point. But I'd probably say that was the most memorable moment of it, because it was just that initial buzz of front row, race start, and you're just trying to be brave and fair. So that for me was my most memorable moment of the race.
Yeah, I'd absolutely echo that, and I think with the heat of the evening as well, my heart has never beaten so quick. It was nice to sort of settle down in a minute. But I think my most memorable was driving past Sandro facing the wrong way at the chicanes, thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen here? How badly damaged is he?" And then sort of having 4 seconds over me, watch that come down over a few laps. My heart rate going back up. My fan ran out of battery. I was sweating my proverbials off, and I think I kept him about a second behind me for 2 laps, and then unfortunately I locked up my brakes and went straight on at one of the chicanes, and straight away it gave me the drive-through penalty. So although it finished with a bad moment, it was certainly my most memorable moment, sort of going past Sandro and thinking this win might be back on after seeing him cruise past me with the amount of speed he's got. So that was my moment.
For me, it also has to involve Sandro. Even though there was a lot of good racing through the race, the thing that stood out to me so much was being 4 laps into the race, looking in the rear view and seeing that like light blue and green McLaren and going, "We're 4 laps in. Sandro was in 21st. What the is he doing behind me? Why is he there?"
It was about 5 or 6 laps in. I checked my stats in the bottom left, scrolled through it, seeing who was where, and actually looking to see where Sandro was, because I knew he'd be coming through the pack, and to see him,
not that fast.
To see him in about 5th, 4th place by still in single-digit laps. And at the time, I didn't realise there was an accident that sort of slowed down sort of 6 or 7 cars, but for him to carry on that and to cut through the pack at the same pace as well. That was a bit of a shock, and that sort of certainly added to me pushing hard in my first stint. When Gavin started getting tied up with Eric, I sort of probably pushed too hard, got too many corner cuts because I could see Sandro coming through the pack, and it's quite daunting to see that time coming down and down and down, knowing
He's
that
so fast.
And he's a skilled guy as well. Like Todd as well. He'll sit and wait behind you, and he'll pick
just
the
wait for
spot.
you to mess up.
Yeah,
and when you realise he's making his proper move, it's already happened. It's already too late to sort of block it, and yeah, other than going side by side with him, your best thing is to let him go. But none of us want to do that. But when they were already side by side, it's very difficult when they're such a they're a faster driver by maybe a second a lap or more in some of the other guys' cases.
It's
So
exactly what happened to me. I just locked up into the hairpin, and then that was it. That's it. He's passed me now after
yep.
holding him up for a few laps.
Yeah,
From Simon Tompkin in the audience, his most memorable moment, and I was actually on voice chat with him while
really?
this happened, but Simon actually got 3 punctures within 2 laps, and that was like in the first half of the race at some. So I think he didn't have to deal with it the entire race, if I'm correct. But there was a
I
point
did.
where he just was losing pressures and he was panicking. What the hell did I do? What's happened?
I did see him a few times, and he certainly had some creative lines in some of the corners, taking too much, or I think one track join I saw him sort of slide in as he was rejoining the track. So yeah, I'm not surprised you got a puncture, but 3 punctures. Yeah, I
Yeah,
driving them for 5 laps before he pitted. Yeah, yeah. I'd say it's with when the punctures start, you only lose sort of zero 0.4 psi or so, and you think, well, maybe it's just my driving style, and then you realise that
nope.
it's not getting any better.
Well, to finish up the race in the pro category, Sandro Van Sand launched from the back of the grid to the win, with Gavin Sullivan and Peter Wicinski taking second and third spots on the podium. Our top 3 in the Pro-Am category were Eric Roguski, Nicholas Petzel, and Connor Jalaviecki, finishing 4th, 6th, and 7th overall. And in the Am category, Stacey Ellis takes 17th overall, followed by Simon Tonkin and Chris Montgomery in 18th and 19th. Of the 22 drivers who started this race, only 2 drivers dropped out, and I'm really happy to see that, because in Bathurst and Snetterton we had 5 drivers drop out, 6 drivers drop out,
Mm.
and one
One
thing
of them
that
was one of them was connection issues as well.
yeah, but
Yeah,
we managed
one
to
of my
get through.
problems this year was connection issue. Yeah, I had a disconnect at Bathurst, so
But most of us got through, and I say it all the time, like, if you drop out, you're not going to get points. So even if you're
yeah,
having the worst race of your life at this time,
absolutely. Get out
finish.
there and
Agree.
yeah, I mean, you can even use it as a testing session. I've done it before where I've gone in, I've changed the rear wing or something because I think it'll be better, gone back out and just done 2 or 3 laps just to finish the race, and that's the best way. Once you quit, I mean, you're not getting any points. Yeah, if you sit in the pit lane for the last 4 or 5 laps, you're not getting any points. Get out there, go and do a couple of laps and take the checkered flag, and you'll get your points that way, and you'll be surprised how quickly they mount up just by finishing every race. You'll be surprised how well you're finishing the championship by the end of 6, 8, 10 races of a season.
What's it? Last series, I was new, right? Like, I was
Yep.
new to Cerberus virtual racing. I missed the first race at Zandvoort, came in at Paul Ricard, and because I was new, I was finishing like 17th, 20th, horrible finishes, but I made every single race and I crossed the finish line for every race that I did. And in the points, I ended up like 6th, 7th
Yeah.
of a championship that had like 30 drivers involved through it. So that's why I constantly say, like, finish the race. Just go out
Yeah,
there,
the,
cross the
the
finish
other
line.
advantage, is something that I've noticed with the current BOP at the moment as well. There are cars that are strong at certain tracks and cars that are weak. So your championship rival, may be sort of having a weak race, and you might not lose so many points to them. Just finish the damn race.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was my first 2 races of this championship for myself were disasters for me.
Yeah.
Managed to have a good result at Bathurst, and then again on Zolder, so I've obviously pulled me right back up the championship standings. So yeah, absolutely, definitely finished the race.
We would also like to congratulate driver Sean Field. After solid performances at both Bathurst and Zolder, race admins have decided to promote Sean into the Pro-Am category. So great work, Sean, and we look forward to seeing more of what you're capable of. Good job.
Yep, well
Yeah,
done,
well
Sean.
done, Sean.
We love to see progression, and obviously Pete, who's running the podcast, is a gentleman of himself that's also been bumped up this year from Pro-Am into Pro. So yeah, we love to see the progression, and this gives us all something to target. So yeah, well done, Sean. Great work.
Paul, why don't you take us out and through the next sections?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll talk about the fastest lap and the bonus points. So for attaining the fastest lap in their category, a bonus point was awarded to the following drivers. In the amateur category, the fastest lap goes to Stacey Ellis, sorry mate, with a 1:30.862. In the Pro-Am category, Eric Roguski snags an extra point, setting a 1:29.262. And finally, in the Pro category, Sandro Van San gets the fastest lap with a 1:28.177. Well done to you guys, and like I say, it's an extra point for you all. Moving on to the point standings, we're now halfway through Series 3. Thank you all for getting us this far, and those ones that have been with us since the start. We have our very own P-Dubs, Peter Wicinski, maintaining a hold at the top of the leaderboard in the Pro category with 133 points. At 129 points, Gavin moves up to take second with a single point lead over, yes, you guessed it, me. One single point, bringing up it in third. Moving on to the Pro-Am division, at 161 points, Eric Roguski is now building a comfortable gap between himself and Mark Cutts in second with 139 points. Conor Yalaweski, again, I've probably butchered it, you'll have to let us know, finds himself back in the mix as he jumps positions into third with 136 points. With Sean Field being promoted, Simon Tomkin now takes the lead in the AM category with 154 points, followed by Stacey with 144 and Chris Montgomery with 100. If you would like any further details about championship standings, please follow the link to the SimGrid page, and obviously also follow us on Discord. Various links available on SimGrid and elsewhere where needed.
Yep.
Bit of a waffle at the end, my apologies. And
It's cool.
yeah,
So
I think we'll move back over to you, P-Dub, and
yeah,
well, for us all really, I'd like to actually invite Ash to come back up and have his input on this one as well for our various Best Driver of the Day awards.
yeah, that sounds good. So yes,
yeah.
before we close everything out, we're going to hand out our Best Drive Awards. Remember, this award is not necessarily given to the driver who takes first overall in the race, but is given to a driver who we feel had a standout performance that deserves recognition. My Best Drive Award for Zolder is going to Sandro Van Sand. P21 to P5 in 4 laps, fought through the rest of us to get to the lead, won. I mean, there's not a better drive on the grid, in my opinion.
Yeah. Other than his one mistake for me to take back the lead, he was absolutely, even his bad laps are better than most of our fastest laps. So
Right.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, my driver of the day would probably go to Nick and Nicholas Petzel.
Also a great drive.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about what he was doing during the race, but when I come out after my drive-through and I slotted out a few seconds ahead of him, I was very impressed to see him come from the back, not doing qualifying, and to start, in the 20s to finish 6th and second in his class. Yeah, that's where my driver of the day award. That's for Nick.
For myself, I have to probably give it to Sandro as well. Back of the grid to the front. As out with that outlier of the mistake, it's a pretty flawless race, really. The consistency to maintain that speed as well, especially with damage off the back of that incident. Fair play. It's drivers like that you want to keep racing with so you can better yourself. So Sandro's my award for driver of the day.
How about you, Ash?
I've got 2 really. Two for 2 different reasons from 2 different classes.
I've actually got someone else that I'd like to put an honourable mention for on the end. So yeah,
you can give 1 award, but honourable mention, go ahead. Gotta make a
I'm
decision.
going to go with Arik. You know, me and Arik and Paul, we all started racing from the same group many months ago now, and you know, we've all
Almost
come
a
on,
year.
but Arik has, you know, has really stepped up the pace, and it makes it quite enjoyable that we've got the rivalry that we have got week in, week out, and we have really good banter with it, but solid drives for the past 2 drives. You know, I had the first 2 decent drives, but he seems to have got even quicker, so now week in, week out, I'm having to put the extra hours in and thinking, dear God, if I don't get the practice in now, he's going to have been sat practicing from day to night. I'm going to have to really do it. And then the other honourable mention then is Stacey Ellis. So Stacey Ellis was lapped. He was a lap down when I came upon him, and he put his left indicator on and moved over the track, and I'm just like, I've got nothing left to give. I can't go any faster, Stacey. You're gonna have to slow down. I can't get past you. So the Lambo just didn't seem to have the straight line speed that the Merc had. So we spent 2 or 3 laps while he's blue flagged. But by this point, he started to really creep into the low 30s, and like I said, because of the middle section, I was really taking it cautiously, so I kept catching up with him, and then we'd get to the dreaded section. I was like, no, thank you. So those are my my 2 honourable mentions. So yeah, big shout to Arik, and big shout to Stacey Ellis.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my other honourable mention would be to Hans, who's by his own admission not usually amongst the sort of runners and riders, but he certainly did a good job and managed to get ninth on Zolder, and I would hope that I'm not doing him just disservice by giving him my honourable mention of the day.
No, I don't think so. Hans is a good driver, and I've had plenty of fun battling him, especially around Bathurst. That was a whole discussion in itself. But join us again when we come back to talk round 5 taking place at Spa-Francorchamps in 2 weeks' time. Until then, please like, follow, and subscribe to stay in the know about Cerberus Virtual Racing Series 3 and other events hosted by Cerberus Virtual Racing. If you'd like to join us, please see the link to the Cerberus Virtual Racing Discord channel. There are drivers of all skill levels from across 3 continents to drive with and learn from. And if you really like what we're doing, please consider becoming a Patreon for access to exclusive servers, car setups, coaching, and custom liveries. We have great benefits for Patreon members, and it also helps us put together the events and subsequent content for you guys, so it is greatly appreciated. Cerberus Virtual Racing is also in talks about even more exciting features to be added, so be sure to stay tuned in the future for those exciting Patreon content updates. That said, we would like to take a quick moment to shout out our Patreons and the people who make this all possible. Ash Leach, Nicholas Petzel, Jessica Peltzel, Peter Wicinski, Hans Gingell, Gavin Sullivan, Paul Simon, Stephen Jordan, Mark Taylor, Eric Roguski, Martin Story, Matt Lee, Michael Woollacott, Christine Nicholson, Kirk Nicholson, Chris Montgomery, Thomas Gerlach, Simon Tonkin, Stacey Ellis, and Tony Herzig. Thank you guys for your hard work and support. We are happy to have you as part of the Cerberus Virtual Racing family. Until next time, may your tires always find grip. Bye!
Bye!
Bye.